Hello students, welcome to the EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Rashmi Sharma, Head of the Department OB&HR, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi. Today we will learn the module Managing Employee Separation, Downsizing and Outplacement. This module is from the paper Contemporary Issues in HRM and Future Trends. The learning outcomes of this module are Introduction to Employee Separation, Downsizing and Outplacement. What is the role of an HR in managing layoffs? After the completion of this module, the students would be able to learn the concept of employee separation, downsizing and outplacement, and also understand the importance of the role of HR in streamlining this process. The economic conditions globally is challenging in today's world. While companies are competing against each other over the market share, economies due to several internal and external reasons are fluctuating. With this kind of openness that the world has experienced in terms of trade policy, it has automatically exposed itself to a broader economic turmoil. Now let us understand what exactly employee separation, downsizing and outsourcing does. In order to develop this module, the major references were marked to Chapter 6 of Managing Human Resources by Louis R. Gomez. The chapter defines employee separation, downsizing, outplacement and covers various reasons that lead to these situations. Let's understand now what exactly is an employee separation. Employee separation is a sensitive issue for any organization. Usually, an employee leaves the organization after several years of service. Thus, the permanent separation of employees from an organization requires discretion, empathy, and a great deal of planning. The cost of employee separation differs for different firms. For example, an organization's geographic location may necessitate a particularly high cost of recruiting new employees, which causes the cost of turnover in that organization to be unusually high. The recruitment cost is a cost that is associated with recruiting a replacement that may include advertising the job vacancy and using a professional recruiter to travel to various locations, which also includes college campuses. Selection costs are associated with selection, hiring and placing a new employee in a job. Interviewing the job applicant includes the cost associated with travel to the interview site and the productivity that is lost in organizing the interviews and arranging meetings to make the selection decisions. Training cost refers to when an employee who needs some specific training to do their job. The training cost includes the cost that is associated with an orientation to the company's value and culture. Separation cost is a cost that company incurs for all the employees who leave, whether or not they will be replaced. Let us now understand the benefits of employee separations. An employee separation helps in reducing the labor cost. An organization can reduce its total labor cost by reducing the size of its workforce. The replacement of poor performers, an integral part of management, is identifying the poor performers and helping them improve their performance. Increased innovation Separation can create an advancement opportunities for the high performing individuals. The opportunity for greater diversity. Separations create opportunities to hire employees from diverse work backgrounds and to redistribute the culture and gender composition of the workforce while maintaining control over the hiring process. There are two types of separation: voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary separations occur when an employee decides for personal or professional reasons to end the relationship with the employer. The decision could be based on the employee obtaining either a better job or planning to change career or wanting more time for family or leisure activities. The second type is involuntary separation. An involuntary separation occurs when management decides to terminate its relationship with an employee due to economic necessity or a poor fit between the employee and the organization. Involuntary separations are the results of very serious and painful decisions that can have a profound effect on the entire organization and especially on the employee who loses his or her job. Exit interview can be conducted by an employer when an employee separates from the organization. These interviews are usually conducted by the human resource staff or somebody who is a skilled interviewer. When we have to manage early retirement, it is important to understand that it is a kind of voluntary separation wherein a company loses out on an employee who has the potential. Hence, it becomes very, very important for the firm to control it. We all have heard of the word outplacement, but we seldom know that it is an HR program which is created to help the separated employee deal with the emotional stress of job loss and provide assistance in finding a new job. The goals of outplacement are to reduce the morale of an employee who is about to be laid off so that they remain productive until they leave the firm. Minimizing the amount of litigation initiated by the separated employees, and outplacement also helps in assisting the separated employees in finding the comparable jobs as quickly as possible. The emerging trend in companies are now moving from reducing turnover rate to retaining their employees. Following are the alternatives of a layoff: employment policies, changes in job design, pay and benefit policies. All these policies are going to help in finding an alternative solution to separating the individual, that is an employee, from the organization. When we provide an outplacement service, then we should ensure that we are helping the employee to develop a clear action plan for the future for his own self. It should provide an advice to the employee on career assessment. It means one should also update the resume to add on the skills and knowledge that he or she has acquired during their tenure in that organization. Developing skills in an effective job search strategies so as to get the right kind of job. Developing skills in successful interview techniques. If that employee has served for more than 3 years, he or she may not be able to understand the contemporary interview questions that are being asked. So, therefore, it becomes imperative for the manager or the trainer to train such an employee to take up such initiatives of handling the interview questions. The training steps in implementing layoffs are: first, notify the employee who is being laid off. They should be told and apprised the basic reason behind taking this kind of a decision. Developing the layoff criteria. The reasons backed with sound evidences should be presented. Communication to the laid off employees. This news, that is a bad news to the employee, should be emphatically and empathetically presented. Fourth step, coordinating with the media relations for reasons to get this person who is being laid off with an example that can be set in future. Maintaining security. For example, in the recent case of Grofers, Tiny Owl, etc., the co-founders were caught and locked inside the office by the employees who were laid off, and this situation turned to be very nasty for them. Last step, reassuring the survivors of the layoffs. Let's now understand what is the role of HR in managing layoffs. When an organization undergoes downsizing through layoff, most of the HR problems that existed beforehand would still continue to exist. Even if the organization has become much more streamlined, it does not necessarily see a quick improvement in productivity. Managing communication is a major part of the process of transitioning to a post-layoff workplace environment. After an employer implements a layoff, a theme of communication changes from specific type of information for employees losing their jobs to the types of communication tailored for those who remain with the organization. Communicate the new world order. The purpose of a layoff is to realign the workforce with the current business condition. Therefore, a fundamental communication after a layoff is to explain the employees how management believes the change will improve the organization. Communicate what exactly the employees need to hear. The HR personnel or other people responsible for the organizational communications should keep in mind that employees need to feel safe before they can go on to become productive in a downsized environment. Various employees have different concerns. Keep communication continuous and comprehensive. Communication should expand on a variety of fronts, including the business progress in the post-downsizing environment. The communication should go both ways, with members of the upper management realizing that they learn more by listening than by talking. Keeping the dialogue going on until it evolves from crisis mode to business as usual is very crucial and vital. Analyzing the employee responses becomes important. A downsized organization should analyze the feedback to its communication efforts to determine if any refinements are required, whether in the organization as a whole or at the individual level that might be pertaining to the supervisor or to one of the team leads. The employer may discover that it needs to restructure the work groups, provide training, implement additional layoffs, adjust the compensation and benefits, or find out ways to mollify the disgruntled customers or their own employees. While relocating job responsibility, Conducting a layoff involves prioritizing the job requirements, analyzing the existing workforce, and analyzing the layoffs in such a way that the most vital job will continue to get done. If this analysis is not done before the layoff is implemented, the layoff may appear to be, and in fact may be, unfair and clumsily executed. But the process cannot stop there, because reshuffling surviving employees' job duties involves a significant disruption to the entire employment relationship. The surviving employees, that is, the people who are still there in the organization, may be required to take on the task that they dislike or do not want to do, or do not have the competency to do. Some surviving employees may dislike the new job description, even though the job changes offer new opportunities. The HR professionals may find themselves continually analyzing the jobs and redrawing the job descriptions. Some employees may dislike the changes so much so that they themselves become disengaged and plan or leave the organization. Thus, in this module, we have learned the cost that is associated with employee separation, and the different steps in managing layoffs were also talked about. The importance of exit interview was also discussed. Employee separation is a sensitive issue for any organization. Usually, an employee leaves the organization after several years of service. Thus, the permanent separation of employees from an organization requires discretion, empathy, and a great deal of planning. Thank you.